Welcome to the Lights Lounge, a weekly home for all things Las Vegas Lights FC. We're here every single week in 2025. You can join us for a deeper dive into everything that happens on the pitch, including match previews and analysis alongside a new guest every single episode. Today, we have a special episode brought to you by PayBlocks, the one-stop shop for your merchant account. Joining me today, I have brand new Lights head coach Devin Rensing on his first day in charge. It's Monday, August 4th as of recording, and the official announcement has gone live just a few hours ago. The players will be back in tomorrow for their first day of training under their new head coach. But in the meantime, we have Devin here today to chat about his vision for the future of the organization. So Devin, welcome to the lounge and welcome to Las Vegas.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I'm really excited to dive into this with you and hear a little bit about your plans for the organization. So first off, you bring a wealth of experience to the Lights. 2 decades of coaching, assistant and head coaching roles in the college game, proven success in this league with Memphis and Charleston Battery as an assistant. So given all that experience and given your time as an assistant in this league, why was now the right time for you to embark on a head coaching opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, I just felt ready. I mean, I know that's not a great answer, but I've been in this sport a long time as a player through college and then through the coaching ranks, and I've worked under a lot of great coaches in college and under Ben Pierman and as a pro coach, and I just felt ready. It's something I've been wanting to do, and this opportunity came up, and part of it was the opportunity to work here in Las Vegas for the Las Vegas Lights. I think it's a unique opportunity, and so I just felt ready.
Yeah, on that, why Las Vegas? Why is the Lights the right organization for you right now? I
think that Las Vegas, one, is just a unique city. It's just the energy that it has. I think it kind of matches with my personality and especially how I want to play. I think it has a lot of potential as a club to attract great talent and the potential to work with this front office. I just think it has a lot of potential. I mean, who doesn't like Las Vegas? I mean, it's such a unique situation. And I think that this club's ambitious, and I just wanted to be a part of it. Yeah.
You mentioned the city maybe matching your style of play. We'll dive into that kind of sort of towards the end of the episode after we get through your history, so stick around to the end. We'll talk a little bit about that. But first, let's keep talking about your transition here. I know conversations and interviews have been ongoing for a while as you've been speaking with ownership and with sporting leadership with John Nelia. But then these things tend to happen really fast right at the end. What's this last week been like for you?
Well, it's been exciting. It's been exciting. It has been a whirlwind. But on the back end, leaving Charleston, working for that club, Ben and Lee, the president, and Rob, the owner, they're really supportive of me and giving people opportunities. And they knew that this was maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, So they were really great with that and supporting me. And I can't be thankful enough to those guys and that team. They're in a great spot. But it's been a whirlwind. It's been exciting. But that's what this job is. You could be in one city one next, and then the next day in another city. And that's just the way it is, and it's something I embrace, and I'm just happy to be here.
Great. And then what's been the first couple days like? I think you flew in on Saturday,
yes.
And today's Monday. It's your first day, and then you jump into training tomorrow. But I know I've seen you meeting a few of the players. So what's been the first days?
It's been good. I had a good chance to meet with the coaching staff. Enjoy talking with them about some of their thoughts and their ideas, and I'll be excited to work with all those guys and get their perspective on things. And during the meetings, players were popping in from doing extra work or getting treatment, and it's good to see those guys. Obviously, it was a tough weekend coming from that loss, but my message to the guys that I have spoken to has just been, a new day is dawn. We're moving forward. You want to not completely forget about that game, but kind of forget about that game. It's always important to remember, but we got to have a growth mindset and be positive and move forward. So that's been the mentality of myself and kind of what I've been trying to impart on the coaching staff and the few players that I have met.
Yeah. Speaking of your coaching staff, just kind of an admin note here. Giovanni Troise was serving as interim head coach. He remains as an assistant on your staff, along with Maxi, the goalkeeper coach. So I'm assuming that's who you were referencing talking with earlier today.
Yes. I've actually come into a situation like this before when I worked at Stevens Institute of Technology. I I was the interim head coach, actually, ironically enough, and they had a staff there, Nico and Zach, and I didn't know them from anything, and it ended up working out amazingly well. I was in Zach's wedding, and I'm so good friends with those guys. They sent me a text today congratulating me on my new role. So, yeah, I'm just excited to work with Maxie and Gio. So, I mean, get their unique perspectives from soccer and on this team and, move forward.
Great. Let's dive into your history a little bit, because you have what I think is a really fascinating journey to being a professional head coach. Early on, you finished your playing career, so you were a college player yourself. You played 2 years at Forest Park Community College and then 2 years at Eastern Illinois, where you captained the team. What was your college soccer experience like in the early 2000s, right? Very different landscape in American soccer at that time.
Yeah, it was. I went and played at Forest Park Community College for Pat McBride, who actually recently passed away, who was certainly a hero of mine, but of many. He was a St. Louis soccer legend, one of the best people you'd ever meet. Man, so he was a great guy. Going to go play for him was my brother played for him, and then actually, ironically enough, my brother went and played at UNLV. Here in Las Vegas, but I had a chance.
Is that Damon? Because your Damon is the Michigan State head coach currently. Your brother.
Yeah, so it gets a little bit more crazy. So Derek came out here to be play for UNLV, and then at that time, my other brother Damon was finishing up his career at Michigan State, and he got offered to be the assistant coach for the women's team at UNLV. So those two were out here together at one point in their lives. Which, which is crazy. Ironic. But yeah, getting back to my college experience, it was amazing. I had a chance to play for Pat McBride and Joe Smagala, and these are two coaches that had a very, very big influence on me. And then after that, I went on and played at Eastern Illinois, which was an amazing time. There's nothing better than playing college soccer, except maybe being a professional soccer player. But it was just a great time in my life.
Yeah. What position did you play?
So I grew up playing center mid. And then when I got to Eastern Illinois, actually, I got moved to center back. We had a really, really good team. We had a forward who was a freshman come in, Jason Thompson, who scored 22 goals, and he ended up getting drafted and playing at DC United. But we had a really, really good team. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, college soccer is great. I played college soccer. We have a lot of guys in the USL Championship that are college soccer players. It is a very big hotbed for a lot of college soccer. But we've, on this podcast, had a lot of players, and we've talked through some of their favorite college soccer memories, overtime winners, conference championships, and there's really nothing like it, I think. It's a very unique experience.
Very unique experience, and it's kind of funny, the amount of the facilities that they have is incredible. I mean, my brother's the head coach of Michigan State, and I go up there and visit. I'm blown away. I mean, it's amazing the amount of resources they have, and it's such an amazing time in a person's life to go and go to school, hang out with your buddies, and then go play a game, and then go enjoy yourselves. Hanging out with the team afterwards. It's just a great opportunity.
It's amazing, and I think college soccer's continuing to come a long way. It's continuing to advance and prepare people for the professional game in a better and better way. You're seeing more and more college players able to make that leap. Seeing a lot of kids from academies that don't sign that first professional deal are able to use it as a rebound to then come back into the professional game. So it's interesting to watch it develop.
Yeah, I value the college soccer player. I really do. I value the American soccer player in general, but I value the college soccer player. The trick is sometimes those college players that get drafted by an MLS team, and then sometimes it's if you're an attacking player, it's really, really difficult to break in that MLS team. And so we'd like to pick them up earlier, but then they want to chase the dream of playing the MLS, which I understand. But then we kind of look at try and pick them off after the year or two, So but I value the college soccer player. I think that they're at an age where they still feel like they have to prove themselves, and they're a little bit hungrier than the 17, 18-year-old young guy. So it just depends. It just depends. I think it's important that you kind of cover your bases when building a team. Yeah,
Sean Smart's a good example of that on this current roster. He left Clemson after winning the national title as a sophomore, and elected to go the USL route instead of entering the draft in MLS. That's exactly the scenario you're talking about.
Yeah, there. And it's a good stepping stone for guys if they want to go to play in Europe. Like I coached Nick Marcanic, and he's playing in the second division in Spain, which is, if you were to tell someone, hey, someone's going to go play at Northern Illinois and then go play in the second division in Spain. People are like, well, you're crazy, but he did it. You know what I mean? So good on him. So I still value those guys. I think there's a lot of good college soccer players.
Yeah. Let's talk about your jump into coaching. And your first stops in coaching are as an assistant in the college game. So you did 1 year at Loyola, 2004, Central Arkansas, 2005, and then you spent 4 years at Colgate from 06 to 09. Kind of grouping those together as a discussion point, your first 6 years of coaching in college. What did you learn about yourself and as a very young coach in the college game at that time?
Yeah, after I got done, finished playing at Eastern, I went and worked in the corporate world for 2 years in St. Louis, and I did enjoy it. It wasn't. I just knew it wasn't me, and so I left to go to be the volunteer coach at Loyola Chicago under Brendan Knights and Tim McBride. Tim McBride's father, Pat, was the one who coached me at Forest Park. So that was that connection, and I still didn't know that I wanted to coach, and but working with those guys was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and I realized I kind of enjoy this. And I also felt like I was pretty good at it. And the other aspect of it was, when I was growing up, I had amazing coaches, really great coaches. I didn't know how good the coaches they were, and they had a big impact on my life. And I wanted to have some sort of an impact on people's lives like they had on me. And I don't know if I do that. I'd like to think that I do. But I felt like I was good at it. I really enjoyed it, and I felt like I could be a positive influence on some people's lives. And so all those three things combined, I just kind of went with it, and since then it's been great.
Wow, amazing. What was the motivation for going to Central Arkansas and then going to Colgate? Because obviously you're a volunteer that first year at Loyola.
The motivation to Central Arkansas was I'm going to get a paycheck.
Sure.
Because working with Brendan Eitz, the head coach at Loyola, he was amazingly supportive of me and helped me get a part-time job and working camps. But I was like, Central Arkansas, and then I worked for Chad Flanders, who's a great guy, and you get health insurance, you get paid, so it's great. And then I was there for a year, and then I went to Colgate. I started working for Eric Ronning. Eric was the assistant coach at Northwestern, and my brother was a assistant coach at Michigan State, and my good friend Joe Aaron was the assistant coach at Colgate. So when I would go recruiting, I'd kind of hang out with all those guys. That's the way the world works,
Right.
And so Joe left, and that position came open, and Eric offered me the job, and I took it. And it was a step up from Central Arkansas in terms of potential and university, and in terms of just potential. And it was a great experience. I mean, it was a way different experience than I've ever had experienced before, just because it was the East Coast, more of an affluent school. But man, I really enjoyed my time at Colgate. We had some really, really good teams. I really learned a lot coaching with Eric. He's really about culture and togetherness, and I really learned a lot. And coaching those guys was a lot of fun. And we had some really, really good teams, and I learned that those guys were fighters, man. They were tough, and we had a great combination of skill, athleticism, but toughness. And a lot of people don't associate that with a school like Colgate, but I find that to be opposite. I thought that these kids were pretty tough when that ball's on that line. Yeah, they were tough. So I'd go to war with those guys, and it was just a lot of fun and just a different experience than I've ever had.
Is that something that you take away from that Colgate time? The looking for toughness in a player? Or a group, how to build toughness into a group. I don't know if that's
I mean, that was something that was always in. I had that instilled in me growing up. My father played professional, and he was a pretty tough player, I think. And and I was raised as a professional, so I kind of knew that. I knew the toughness, and then I went to high school, St. Mary's, which was a pretty tough school, and so I always knew that element of the game, you have to have that there. But I definitely saw that at Colgate, like the togetherness, and so Eric always said, "Hey, we play for the best university in the world," and these guys believed it, and I took that with me, and so those guys believed it, and a lot of strong unity there, and so and we had a lot of success, and so that's definitely something that helped me learn how to build teams.
Yeah. Any standout memory from your time there at Colgate? Is there anything stand out?
Man, no, we had just the cold, the bus rides, a couple of the players congratulating me on my new gig, here. So, cool. There's not necessarily one memory. Collective memories of how cold it was, but how fun. Gorgeous campus. I worked with an athletic there, Vicky Chun, who's actually now the athletic director of Yale. I learned a lot from her. She's an amazing person, amazing leader. Just a lot of great memories.
Yeah.
A lot of great memories.
Yeah, when you get into championship play in November, December up in Colgate, I bet that's, and then preseason in the spring when you're coming back in January, February.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing like that here in Vegas.
Yeah.
Then you get your first head coaching opportunity. So your first chance to lead a program after having spent a while as an assistant coach. So you move on to Stevens Institute of Technology, which is in New Jersey. It's a D3 school. You were there from 2011 to 2015. Really successful. Won the conference all 5 years, NCAA tournament all 5 years. You were a 2-time coach of the year. How did you get that opportunity, first of all?
Well, I got offered the job, interim head coaching job.
Right. That's what you referenced earlier.
Two weeks before the season started, or a week before the season started. So like, let's see how you do, sort of thing. And I was like, oh, okay. So I took it, but I that was another point in my life where I was like, I'm ready to be a college head coach. Yeah. I knew that I was ready, and so I got there, and then there was the 2 assistants there, and Nico and Zach, and they were guys. Zach was in graduate school, and Nico just came back from playing abroad. He played in like Cyprus or Belgium a little bit, but he went to Stevens, and so they had a really good team. They had a strong team in Division III, and it was as simple as, okay, we're kind of like, here, we're moving forward. There's no time to think about anything. Yeah. This train's moving forward, and if you're not on it, see you later. And Nico and Zach and I, we worked really well together. We learned our personalities there, and they learned how I wanted to play, and I had to be really clear how it is that we're going to play in a short period of time. And I think that we were able to have some success because, like I said, there was no outside distractions. We just were like nearly focused on what we want to do, how we want to do it with the ball. Right. And in Division III, we had some great players, and Division III is a little bit less competitive than Division I because there's so many teams. So you could kind of, work, almost use some games as a training experience. Like, hey, this is how we want to move the ball. This is what we want to do. Even when we were up 3-0, 4-0, it was like, keep doing it. And then you start to learn as you go. So we were fortunate that way. But great experience. Great. Those guys are great players, great people. Just a great experience.
Yeah, fascinating. Is that challenging? I think about the mentality, right, of when it is a big disparity across D3, and you could have games where you might win 8, 9, 10-0 and can kind of cruise through it. And then you get to the end of the year when it's money time and it's the NCAA tournament, and all of a sudden you're locked in a fierce battle, and you maybe don't have you're not as battle tested through the season. Did you find that to be a challenge?
I found the challenge was once it gets to the NCAA tournament, it's just a one-off, right? So there was games that we would show up and we would win whether I would be on the sideline or not. So. Right. The challenge wasn't whether we were battle tested. It was just you weren't tested from a tactical standpoint throughout the year. So you couldn't almost use that as a reference point. Oh, they were doing this, so now, you know what I mean? And the scouting wasn't as good, and not that, we always try to focus more on ourselves. So that's what I found. The other thing with Division III is you play on crazy bad fields. You play a game on a Friday night, and then you play a game on Saturday the next day, and in the NCAA. So it's not conducive to quality soccer. Yeah, that's the challenge of Division III. So that was my challenge, and that's also when I was like, I really enjoyed it, but from a soccer standpoint, I'm ready for my next challenge. Right. So those challenges I could not necessarily meet. We could be the better team, but if we're going to play a team on a horrible field with, it's like, well, what do you want us to do here? You know what I mean? Exactly. So that was the challenge.
Outside of the tactics, leading a group as the figurehead for the first time, did you learn anything or have any major takeaways about how to build culture, how to lead a group, anything along those lines, outside of the D3 tactics?
I learned more about my style as a leader, I think, because when I was coaching with Eric Ronning at Colgate, we had a great balance. He was really, really, really detail organized, and I was more of a bigger picture guy, and I would give him my feedback, and he would take it. And then when I got to Stevens, I thought that I kind of had to be the detailed guy, and I learned that I need to be myself, and I'll give those the detailed jobs to my other assistants, and they could flourish with those. And so I kind of learned to be myself as a leader and as a coach. And you know, you definitely learn as you go, you know, how to push guys in, how to deal with certain situations.
Yeah.
And that's something I learned from my parents. I was very, very fortunate. I had a father who played professional soccer and you know, and instilled in me discipline and hard work and determination. But I had a mother who was a school teacher. What she taught me was you have to be able to reach different personalities in different ways. So I would have a problem. I would have a situation would come up while I was a head coach, and I needed some advice, and I had questions that I'd go to my father with, and I had questions I'd go to my mother with. You know, I remember there was a situation, and it was after a game. I normally talk to my parents after a game, and I call my dad, and I'm like, "Hey, can I talk to Mom?" He's like, "What you got to talk to her?" I go, "Well, this came up." He's like, "Oh yeah, you better talk to her in this situation." So, I was very fortunate to have two different personalities, a mother and father, to get advice from, and just learn how to deal with different situations with different people. Yeah. During that time, I really grew, I think, as a leader and as a coach, whether it's with staff or with players.
Yeah. You spoke about your next challenge, right? You could sort of outgrowing it at a certain point, and it's time for the next challenge. And you take a really interesting step next, which is you shift to scouting, and you become an international scout for Sporting Kansas City of Major League Soccer, based in Madrid, Spain. You get your master's degree in talent identification and development in soccer from a university in Madrid. Why that move? That feels like a real. Yeah, I have so many questions about that.
Sure.
Explain it to me.
So during that time, I started to make a little bit of money and then I've always wanted to learn Spanish. I can't explain to you why. I just always have. And so while there, I started to learn Spanish. I would have a Spanish teacher, and I just went crazy with it. I just would study. And then one summer, I was able to go to Spain for 6 weeks, and I did 3 weeks in an immersion program, and I did 3 weeks just kind of traveling, and I really enjoyed it. It was just amazing. And while I was there, I came across the grad school program in conjunction with Real Madrid, and I applied and I got in. And so I just felt like this is too good of an opportunity for me to pass up, maybe a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Yeah. So I moved to Spain to go to be graduate school in football. It's direction of in talent identification and basically how to build a team. Yeah. And so while I was there, I thought, well, why not do a scouting role? And so I emailed every MLS team. Every MLS team, I think Columbus got back to me and Sporting Kansas City got back to me. Peter Vermees and Brian Bliss. And so I started. Brian Bliss said, "Hey, listen, we don't really have the budget to do it, but we'd like you to do it for us." Columbus didn't work out, and so I said, "All right, well, I'll do it for free. I'm going to do it for free. I'm going to keep sending you the reports." And like, okay. So they end up setting me up with some money. I think it was like $300, and then it was $700, then it was $1,500. So eventually, as I got going, and Brian Bliss is a great guy. I really enjoyed working with him. And I really learned how to scout. I was kind of on my own, and how to use Y-Scout, and I was just building these reports and sending them back and getting feedback from Brian and stuff like that. So it was just almost like a part-time gig, but it really opened my eyes to a lot of things, and it was just I would basically go to 4 to 5 La Liga games, Segunda games every weekend. Because I had a Sporting Kansas City email, and I would just say, "Hey, I want tickets," and I would scout and take notes and drop reports, and so it was just an amazing experience. Yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating. And then your full-time job, I guess at the time, is doing your master's degree. Yeah. So what did you take away from that experience? And is that an English language program or is it a Spanish language program? Okay.
Both. So I wrote a paper on how to build a professional soccer team. I wrote that in English, but a lot of the classes were in Spanish and English. And then the good thing is you get people from all over the world. Some spoke English, some spoke Spanish. There's a German guy in there who I'm still in touch with, a guy from Ireland, and a lot of guys from South America, and a couple of people from Spain. So we went and we visited. We go visit teams. We went visit AZ Alkmaar in the Netherlands and Ajax for a week. We learned about their methodology and how they develop players. We spent a week at Real Madrid, obviously, and then clubs would come and send a person over, and they would do the same thing, but give us in classroom ideas of how they do things. And we went to Atletico Bilbao. So it was just an amazing experience. I got to meet amazing people. keep working on my Spanish while I was there, and then I wrote an 80-page paper on how to build a professional soccer team. So those were all my ideas floating around in my head, and I was able to zero in and narrow it down and kind of formulate what I would do had I been given the opportunity to work at a professional soccer team.
Yeah. Wow. So you actually have a thesis.
I have an 80-page thesis.
Yeah,
yes, I do.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
And a good exercise as well, right? I mean,
incredible exercise.
You develop so much of this stuff up here in your head, but actually having to write it down and justify it and explain it. When something goes down on paper, it can look different than it does in your head, and I'm sure that made you confront some things and some assumptions that you had made.
Sure,
Yeah.
And what it really did was I just went into the history of the MLS and professional and successful teams and how they built teams and what that looked like.
Yeah.
And I had an idea, and I was pretty accurate. But then there's a couple things that popped up. I'm like, oh, they had this too, and so they had different. It just challenged me to look at things a little bit different, or just things would pop up. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't see it that way. And, so it was very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Any example of something that surprised you during that process?
Yeah. So I always thought that, it's important to have a core of a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would take the AC Milan team, I don't remember, when they were incredible,
right?
But they had a core of all Italian players. But then they had Van Basten, right guard, and Ruud Gullit. And I think Ruud Gullit came first, and what I learned was he kind of struggled, and at first that's because he didn't have any friends. I mean, and so then it was just hard to relate. And so then they brought Van Basten over. I can't remember which one it was. Then they kind of, and I always thought, well, that's a pretty good way of having a team. Have a main core of guys that you could really depend on, that know the league, that have traveled all over the league, the ups and downs. And then you have a more of a talented core. But then within that main core, it kind of pops in another supporting role cast core. So in that team, it was like Maldini and Baresi, but then you had Carlo Ancelotti, who came in and was a big part of that, and then he went on to other team. Now Baresi and Maldini are lifelong core guys of AC Milan, but then you have the supporting cast, So that's really kind of what I learned.
Yeah, fascinating. Anything you learned as a scout while you're doing this part-time? Let's shift focus back to that. Do you feel like you've carried that forward with you, some of those talent identification and an ability to scout, watch players, and determine how they might fit in your team as a coach? Yeah,
I mean, I'll give credit to Sporting Kansas City, and I think it was I think I read the article. I think it was Peter Vermees said players with energy, players that play with, and I always like players that worked hard, and I always thought, oh, that's a good term, play with energy, and that's the thing that I take with me today. So I always want our teams to be high character, high energy, meaning high energy means you're going to run, you're going to work, you're going to hunt that ball, and high character I think is very, very important. Something as simple as you don't get the call's not going to go your way. You're not complaining to the ref. You're not looking for excuses. You get up and you move on with it.
Right.
You make a bad pass, or a teammate makes a bad pass, just get on with it. You know what I mean? So those are the two things that I've really, really kind of taken away and learned. Again, these things that I've kind of known, but now that I was in it, I was really focused on those things. And there was guys that were talented that just didn't have the energy or didn't have that high character piece. And it's important that you're able to move on from those guys. So you have to be disciplined with what you're looking for and not get distracted from basically talent and potential, because it's a hard thing to balance.
You can sort of have the wool pulled over your eyes by, oh, this player's so talented.
Right.
You see players a lot that can kind of jump, and every coach is like, oh, no, I'll be the one. I'll be the one that unlocks this potential. And
you're not going to be the one. You're not going to be the one. And you could just go back and everyone knows who those players are. So those are the things that I really learned. Stick to what you know. Stick to what you know.
Absolutely.
And don't get distracted.
Okay, so after that very fascinating stop in your career, you returned to the U.S. With Northwestern. So 2 years as an assistant coach in Division I in Big Ten. Why Northwestern at that time?
I had a relationship with the head coach there, Tim Lenihan, for a long, long time.
Okay.
Eric Ronning at Colgate coached with him at Northwestern, so that's how that works. And he was friends with my brother. When we go scouting, recruiting, I would see those guys, and so I'd get that chance to hang up. So
soccer's a small world.
Yeah, and actually, Tim Lenihan came over to Madrid. One of his former players is Santiago Solari, who played for the Galacticos, played for Real Madrid. which is an amazing story in itself. And he works at Real Madrid now. And so I had a chance to sit down and have lunch with Tim Lenihan and Santiago Solari, which was an amazing experience. So when I came back, I was, my visa was running out. And so I came back and I was looking for something. And Tim gave me an opportunity to go work for him. And I jumped at the chance. Northwestern's an amazing school. And he's great coach and has a lot of history there. And got a chance to learn a lot from him. And so, I took it, and it was just, I was there for a year, and then I just felt like I'm kind of done chasing this, and I wanted to just settle down and relax a little bit, and I had a chance to go work at Caltech then.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to kind of,
which was jumping back into a head coaching role with Caltech.
A head coaching role at a Division III school that wasn't very strong at soccer, incredibly strong at academics, and then some. I mean, Caltech is maybe the hardest school in the world to get into.
It makes the recruiting trail interesting.
Yes, it does. But I was excited just to take a step back and be like, focus on my personal life, just relax. I'm going to recruit here, coach these guys, and maybe have a permanent move, more of a permanent move.
Yeah.
The athletic director there was great. Betsy is amazing. But right when I got there, COVID hit. So COVID hit, and then I was there for a year, just not doing much.
Yeah.
As the whole world was. And I was living in LA, which is an experience, warm weather. I was, so it was just there. And then after a year, Ben Pierman got the head coaching job at Memphis 901. Yeah. And then he called me and said, "Hey, do you want to be my assistant?" And I just thought, okay, here we go again.
Great intentions of settling down. We're not going to jump from job. Like, we're not going to do this whole thing. Like, I need to find some community. Yeah. But then you get an opportunity you can't turn down.
Yeah. And so it was a pretty big pay cut. I'm going to throw that in there. But it was the opportunity to work in a pro environment, and that was something that was always a goal. That was probably really why I went to Madrid. It's hard to get into pro coaching. It really is, especially if you don't have an in. And my personality, I don't really put myself out there. I don't, I'm not an extrovert. I don't make these connections. I think that's how a lot of this works. And so, so I just thought, this is another once in a lifetime opportunity, and I want to take it. Right. So I took it, and it was a great experience. Yeah. Great experience.
And the connection with Ben, right, is through Damon, your brother, and some Michigan State connections, right? Yeah.
So Ben went to Michigan State, played for my brother, and then was my brother's assistant for a long time. So that's how I got to know Ben.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when
so you knew Ben pretty well.
Yeah, I would go up and work Michigan State camps, and they went to the Final Four. I went down to spend the weekend with them and got to meet Ben's wife, Paige, and it was and so that was our relationship. They came out, the whole Michigan State staff came out to New York to watch one of their players play against the Red Bulls, and while I was at Stevens. So cool.
Fascinating. So Ben calls you move to Memphis. What's that jump from working at Caltech and working in college soccer for so long and jumping straight into the pro game with Ben?
I mean, I think I had 2 training sessions at Caltech. That's how,
because of COVID.
Yeah. Wow. And then, so then I jump on a plane, and they're already in preseason. So they're already in preseason. It's late in the game in terms of the season, and so it's hit the ground running, and so Ben and I have a lot of the same ideas of how we want to play and how we want to recruit and how we want to build a team, and so it's just a great mix. And he still is a young coach, kind of, but so he was very hands-on, and I learned what he wants, and he learned my strengths, and we had a great team. We had a good team. I don't say great team. Our second year we had a great team. Yeah. Our first year was a good team though. It was a good team.
Yeah, 7th in the East in 2021 was where you finished, which at the time for Memphis and the budget that was there is a good result as a new coaching staff.
Yeah, they never made the playoffs before, and so I don't think much was expected of us, but we had a team, and a bunch of guys, and it was kind of like, all right, let's do this together. There was that same camaraderie, that same community that you spoke of. That's what it was. And hey, we don't have the best resources, but we don't care. We're going to go out there and play. And so that was the mentality. And then from there, we were able to that following year and find some good players that were, I would say, undervalued. And we were giving them an opportunity, and they flourished, and they went with it. You know? So a lot of great players on that team. A lot of
Absolutely.
great players.
Yeah, I mean, you see that a lot, I think, in the USL Championship as well. You will see teams that are on a lower budget that identify some players that feel like they've been overlooked throughout their career, know that they're maybe on a last opportunity or want to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
And you can create a great group mentality with a group like that, and find some gems in the rough as well.
Yeah, and I think some of them just need an opportunity to play. You know what I mean? I mean, Jeremy Kelly, I think that he wasn't not getting much looks. Philip Goodrum, who's top striker in this league, Patrick Seagrass, Mark Segbers. I mean, we used to go down the line. Aaron Malloy, who's one of the best players in the league, we bought him from Forward Madison, and he was not too many teams valued him too much. I think. I mean, I don't want to tell you how much we bought him for, because it was like nothing.
Right.
And now he's great. He's a fantastic player.
Now he would command quite the transfer fee in this league. So
same with Chris Allen. I mean, you go down the line, Lauren Casiedo. We had a really, really good team. We had a really good team, but there were players that I feel were probably undervalued, and now obviously they're flourishing, doing well. Yeah,
absolutely. So then that goes really well. You guys finished second in the East in 2022, and then Ben gets the opportunity to become the head coach at Charleston, and obviously takes his staff with him. How did you find out about Ben talking to Charleston and that move potentially happening, and whether you were going to go with him?
Well, I think that Ben's contract wasn't quite settled at Memphis, or and you kind of know these things. And Ben and I are pretty close, and so I think that again, Ben and I have a great working relationship, and he very early on I knew that I had a place with him if he was going to go to Charleston. So that was comforting to know. He really looked out after me for that, and so appreciative of that. And it was I was in the middle of doing my UEFA license as well, and I wanted to get that finished before I even approached kind of being a head coach. And obviously an opportunity came up, was too good. I would have jumped at it, but nothing was coming up, and so Ben went to Charleston and took me with him, and it was a great experience.
Yeah. So talk to me about Charleston, because that's obviously jumping from Memphis, which is was a lower budget team, to Charleston, which does transfer players and does throw the cash around. What was it like working with a slightly different makeup of squad and building what's become a very successful franchise there?
Yeah, I don't think that they splashed a whole lot of money. I think that they have a president there, Lee Cohen, who's is really, really good. He came in and he's the one that hired Ben, and I think we had to prove ourselves a little bit before they were able to. Okay, we could splash a little bit of money now.
Maybe some recency bias from me there. Yeah.
But
think back to 2023, a little bit of a different landscape.
We inherited that team, and we went to the finals and lost to Phoenix in the penalty kicks. But I think we've earned the right to spend a little bit more money, right?
Sure.
So I think that was a scenario. This is what I'm gathering as assistant coach from behind the scenes, because I'm not in all those conversations. But I mean, it was Charleston's is a really unique place, and great club, and they do things the right way. And Lee Cohen's a big part of that, and he really helped us, with that navigation.
Yeah. I want to talk about you and Ben a little bit, and let's talk more specifically about Ben's playing style and how that is similar to your view of the game, and maybe how that differs.
Yeah, I mean, we both have, we both adopted the attitude of high energy, high character. That was going to be a big component of us, because maybe we're not the most talented team, but we're going to outwork teams. We're going to be the hardest working team in the league, especially on that night. And when we're playing that game, there's no doubt when you're walking out the field who's the hardest working guy. So yeah, we're pretty close on how we want to play. Ben's a little bit more dramatic than me. When I say a little bit, I mean a lot. But I'm probably a little bit more calm and reserved, and he's more dramatic. I'm pretty dramatic at training sessions actually, but on the sideline I like to be a little bit more calm. So we just had a really good balance. We had a really good balance in a style of play and how we fit. He's probably a little bit tougher on the refs than I am, even though I didn't recently get a red card, but we don't need to talk about that.
Sometimes as assistant coach, you got to take the fall for the head coach.
Yeah, exactly. Your words, not mine. But so I had a great relationship with Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you need if you have too many of the same personalities in the building, that can be an unhealthy thing, because then you don't push each other. You don't ask questions. Well, why that? Why this? You don't balance each other out in the right way. And it sounds like you and Ben have that relationship.
and Ben's he just wants the same thing that I do. He wants to win. He wants Charleston Barry to win. And so I'm never a yes man. I'm going to tell you my opinion. And I always felt comfortable to tell Ben my opinion, and Ben might not choose to go with my opinion, and that's completely fine.
Right.
I just want my voice to be heard. And it's the same thing with my assistants. I want their opinion. I might not always do what they want, but I want to hear their opinion. I want them to feel comfortable, and I was always able to do that with Ben. But also, Ben knew I always had his back. And so, but I do think it's important that you don't just live in a silo of people just telling you what you want to hear. It's important that you get perspectives, different perspectives.
Cool. Before we dive into maybe your vision, your tactics, and talk about that for the Lights, one last question. The pro game versus the college game. You spent so long in the college game as a head coach, as an assistant coach, and then you've spent the last 5 years with Ben in the pro game. How does the pro game and coaching in the pro game differ from what you were doing at the college level? How does dealing with grown adults differ from dealing with college kids? Yeah,
it's a great question. I mean, one thing is if a player gets hurt in college, it's like you might miss the whole season, or a player gets hurt in pro, it's like he'll be back in 3 weeks, 6 weeks. It's not the end of the world.
Right.
And it's just to me, this is a relationship business, and what's important is that the players understand that I care about them. I care about them as people, and I care about them as players, but I care about them as people. And I think that, once you build that relationship with players, you can kind of, get to know them a little bit and talk to them, so there is more of maturity in the pro game, obviously, just on travel and taking care of yourself and being professional. I think in the college game, sometimes the players think that they're mature, or they think that they're professional, and they're kind of not,
Got to give them more guardrails in the college game.
Yes, you certainly do. You certainly do. And some you got to give them guardrails when it's not warranted, but just because you're a college soccer coach, you do. You know what I mean? So, there's definitely a difference. I don't know that I couldn't get into too specifics about it, but there's just more of maturity.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's pivot and let's kind of go into our last segment here. I want to hear a little bit about your vision for the Lights and what you're expecting as we transition into this head coaching role for you. So big picture, how do you see the game and how do you want your team to play?
Yeah, kind of like I mentioned before a little bit, I think is I want a team that understands that, I want a team that represents the city. And again, I think that Las Vegas is a energetic city. I mean, it's got energy, right? And it's a city where, it seems like there are smart, tough people here. And that's what I want my team to look like on the field. I want a team that plays with energy, that, we value the ball, but when we don't have it, we're going to try and get the ball as quickly back as possible. It's not going to be always the case, but that's what we want to look like, So, but when we have the ball, we want to be smart with the ball. We want to move from side to side. We want to be searching for high percentage shots and crosses, as I say. And, we want to be dynamic and attacking and possession-oriented. And when we don't have that ball, we want to get it back. Now, it's hot, and some teams might have the ball a little bit more than us, and that's going to be fine at times. So we might have to sit back in a little bit of a mid-block or lower block at times. But for the most part, we want to be in your face, playing with passion, high energy, moving that ball with quickness and speed, searching for those 2v1s or those 1v1s, and then when we don't have it, we're going to try and get that ball back quickly.
What's your initial impression of the Lights squad? You haven't had a training session yet, so you haven't seen the players in person, but just from what you've seen and the conversations you've had with John and what you've seen on video, what's your initial impression of the squad? How do you think it can be best utilized?
Yeah, I think that from I think there's potential here. I think that a couple of things. I think one, we have to get organized tactically.
Sure.
How to press, how to move, when to move. If you have one guy pressing and the guy behind him is not pressing, what's the point of it? So tactically, we just got to get organized with and without the ball. We have to have clear ideas of what we want to do with the ball, when we get it, where we want to get it, at certain moments of the game as well. So doing those things and then getting organized defensively, when to press them, where to press them, who to press, and who to secondary press and who to cover, all those things. We just have to be clear. So I think there's potential there. There's potential there, and I'm excited to be working with them. And there's certainly, probably some upgrades that could happen, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Sure. Thinking from a short-term standpoint, as you talk about installing tactics and understanding when to press and where I should be at what time, thinking about this week, what are your objectives for training this week heading into a game? You have a very limited time frame, 4 days essentially with these guys before you have to lead them on Saturday. So what is success for you this week as you lead those first training sessions? Yeah,
I think it's just to establish a mentality that come Saturday, we have to be the hardest working team in the field. Like they have to know that. If we're coming off that field and San Antonio's working harder than us, they're probably going to win, right? So, and if we're the hardest working team on the field, that doesn't guarantee us a win, but it's going to increase our percentages. So, that mindset, everyone understanding that mindset. And I have this phrase, we go together, meaning you're going to make a bad pass. Your teammate's going to make a bad pass. I'm going to mess up as a coach. The ref is going to make a bad call. It's who knows. But when things don't go the way we want them, that's okay. We have to understand that and almost embrace it, and then we go together. Meaning, if a guy makes a bad pass, don't worry about it. Lift him up. We'll sort it out later at halftime or after the game. Just be encouraging, be positive. If you make a bad pass, don't let it affect your next bad pass. Don't let one bad thing affect the next bad thing. Just move on from it, right? So it's important that we just create this mentality of we're moving forward. We're moving forward, positive mindset. We're going to be the hardest working team in the field. We're going to do our best to get organized as quickly as possible with the ball and without the ball, and understand that it's not going to be perfect, but if we're the hardest working team on that field, that's going to increase our odds of winning.
Wrapping up here, last two from me. And I ask this question to everyone every time we have a podcast. I often go through someone's entire life journey, every stop that they've had, and we break down and tell stories and all this kind of stuff. Having done that and having kind of reflected on some of your college experiences and high school experiences, is there any one moment or one experience you look back on in your life and go, that was really influential, that really changed the course of my life?
In terms of soccer, I would say, like I said, I was very, very fortunate to have great coaching in St. Louis growing up. My father was the biggest influence. Pat McBride, Jeff Robin, Jim Bokern, Denny Haddigan, all these guys, they were a little bit old school, but so it's a collection of memories.
Sure.
And what I learned from them is the seriousness of soccer, playing and being serious, and the seriousness of competing. But while you're doing that, enjoying it. You have to have fun. These guys always knew how to have a laugh. They always knew how to enjoy their soccer. They always knew how to make us enjoy the soccer, but at the same time understanding what competing is and what it is to work hard. So it's really a collection of memories from all those coaches growing up in St. Louis that instilled this philosophy in me that I have now, where it's like, you got to work hard. You got to have a competitive mindset. You have to want to win, but you have to be able to enjoy your soccer at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Final question for you. You're fortunate enough that your first match in charge gets to be at Cashman Field. So you get to play in front of your new home fans for the first time. Any message for the fans and for Las Vegas as you start your journey here?
I guess for the fans, I'm just excited to see you. Hear your voices, feel your energy. We're gonna work hard for you guys because you're why we do it. You're a big part of why we do it. So, we play for you. We want to entertain you. So I'm just asking that you give us your energy. And if there's moments where we're not playing the way that you want us to play or not doing, it's okay to get on us. It's part of it, and ask for a little bit of patience. But we're out here for you guys, and so we want to feel your energy, and so I hope to build a relationship with all of them.
Awesome. Well, hopefully high energy on the field, high energy in the stands leads to success on Saturday. So Devin, thanks so much for stopping by in the studio today. Really enjoyed this conversation. Really looking forward to seeing you take charge of the team. Next time, you have the chance to see Devin in action on the sideline for the first time as head coach of Las Vegas Lights FC this Saturday, August 9th against San Antonio FC for back to school night. Got some great promotions rolling for that right now. Free lunch bag for kids, free kids ticket with the purchase of an adult ticket. So let's fill the stands with some high energy, see a high energy team on the field. So Devin, thank you. We'll see you next time.
It's going to fall in behind for Pizza.